All right, Totem Pole Sports. We are back. April Fool's Day, the day after my birthday. I am in the first quarter of life. Right, I'm trying to live till I'm 100 years old. I'm 25. I got 75 more years to go. We have the man from Seoul that is here. Coach Taylor cannot make it because he is old. He is 45 years old and he had a long day flying into Miami. So it's just us two for the night. Paul, how you feeling? Because a lot of things that happened over the weekend with sports. How was your day? How do you feel?
Well, good to see you, my man Lambo. Hey, my day started just in good old April Fool's fashion. I actually retired from Totem Pole Nation for
I
about
saw
30
that this morning.
seconds.
I saw that this morning. You won't
Yeah,
slick.
that was good. That was good. That made my day. That uplifted me because I caught old Jimbo Fisher off guard this morning. So that kicked off my early morning uh, with Totem Pole, and I'm back
You are
after
back.
a
So you're back.
after a 37 second hiatus.
There you go. Knowing how to make that magic. My birthday weekend was great. I can't complain. I went out to eat, and I got some good presents. I got this mic. What's up, M2K? Welcome to the stream. I got a new mic that I'm still trying to fix, so it might take a while. It works, but I just can't hear y'all. But it's okay. I'll fix that. I've been spending 3 hours on this mic. The mic is set up, so great content to do what we got to do. But like I said, let's get into it. We got a lot of sports we got to talk about today.
Oh
A
my
lot,
goodness!
a lot was happening March Madness. First, we're gonna start before we get to the Saturday games. We're gonna talk about this game that just happened at 7 o'clock. I was watching this game. Caitlin Clark and Iowa get their revenge on LSU uh, after the loss in the national championship game. Obviously, Caitlin Clark, they had about 25 points in the first half, and then, of course, scores 41 points. So, looking at this scenario of watching the game, Paul, how do you feel? I'm going to reiterate on it first, and then I'm going to let you respond. But for me, watching this game when it comes to um, LSU and Iowa, I thought LSU in the first half had a very good game plan because Iowa was playing zone defense. They was playing a 2-3. They was playing a 1-2-2. And they was getting to the post very, very easily in the first half. Angel Reese, uh, they was getting to the post very, very early. The defense on Caitlin Clark was just terrible. I don't think LSU made any adjustments in the second half. They should have put Flaw J. Johnson on Caitlin Clark. She's a better defender than the two guards that they had, but they waited to the fourth quarter to do that. And then they were missing shots. They were missing shots. Angel Reese fouled the game. She scored 17 points, 20 rebounds. But she was two or seven for the free throw line, or three or eight, which is not good. LSU had a chance to win this game. I thought I picked LSU because I thought LSU had a complete team. They had most of their team come back from last year. They lost that really good point guard that they had. She's gone. They had a really good core group. But Caitlin Clark, I know I said she's the system, but her teammates really did get it done tonight. Very solid defense. I know both teams scored a lot of points. They basically combined for almost 200 points. But just watching this game, Caitlin Clark is probably going to win a championship. Maybe we'll see what South Carolina does on Friday. I still got South Carolina to win it all, but we'll see how this goes. LSU had a chance to win it, and they blew it. Paul, how do you feel?
Yeah, watching that. I mean, I expected a whole lot more. I was on the same side as you. I had LSU, and it was. I mean, other than that late run in the first half, it was a very sloppy game for the Tigers. I mean, I've watched them several times this year, and they just look choppy. Uh, I they had, it didn't look like they they knew what they wanted to do as far as attacking the Hawkeye defense, and then once they got behind, they got out of character. Um, and that little run in the first half again, they took the lead, and then I mean they were playing well. They were getting out running. They were getting in the passing lanes, making steals. But once those barrage of threes in the beginning of the second half was that was the game. And to know that everybody else, what everybody else is going to do for the Hawkeyes, to let Clark go off like that to start the second half, as you said. I mean, second half adjustments. I mean, you had them right where you wanted. The game was tied, and now you just lock her down, and she got loose. And I mean, it wasn't acrobatic threes. It was one dribble or off a pick and roll, and I mean, just wide open looks. And those three daggers, that was the game. And I just I don't for for the resume that the LSU Tigers have, I just don't think that that should have happened coming out of the break, because they they're a team built for postseason play, and Kim Mulkey does an excellent job um, up until tonight of making adjustments and having her team ready to play. But it was just a very unusual performance by them, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We'll see what injuries does, if she's going to stay one more year or if she's going to declare for the WNBA draft. If she does, she's projected to be a top seven pick when it comes to that situation as well. But I wish LSU the best. They had a great season, but Iowa was the first time I think making it back since 1983. So before we get into it, we're going to talk about the men's Final Four that happened. The men's Final Four. I think it was a great set of games over the weekend. Purdue beating Tennessee, NC State beating Duke, of course, UConn getting that win as well. So I'm gonna start off with you. How do you feel with that? Tennessee game. How do you feel with Tennessee and Purdue? Are you surprised that Purdue pulled it out? And who did you go for? So how do you feel
No, yeah, I was
about?
I was I was all over the Boilermakers. I think the toughest part for them was getting to the Elite Eight, and with uh, one step from the Final Four, I just knew that they would close it out. I mean, they're a team on a mission, and Edie is a different player. If you go back and watch Edie from last year, he went this offseason, he got in the weight room, and he went from a finesse player to a power player, that extra time in the weight room allowed him to play with an attitude. And when Edie plays with that attitude, as big as he is, there's no stopping him. I mean, he is a machine down low, and the only team I can see staying with the Boilermakers is the Huskies from UConn. I mean, because they've got length to deal with Edie, but Edie had a tremendous performance. So did the future lottery pick for the Volunteers, Dalton Connect. He was magnificent, but it was just too much Edie, and again too much Purdue on a mission and trying to right their wrongs from last year. Um,
I agree. Uh, I think this game. I'm not surprised that Purdue won. I was sleeping on Purdue a whole lot just because of the talent that they had, but then they fall short. As of now, they've proved me wrong, but they're gonna play against a tough NC State team. Is we'll talk about that later, but they're gonna play against a tough NC State team as we go forward. Going into the men's. games that happened on Saturday and my birthday on Sunday. UConn, Purdue, Alabama, NC State got the transfer portal, right? The transfer portal is very important. The NIL, the transfer portal, they got in to the Final Four. Alabama, Alabama beating Clemson. How do you feel about that?
Uh, um, again, I was on Alabama too. I just think that I thought they would at some point in the game. I felt like because their style of play that they would dictate tempo. I just felt like before the game even tipped off, if they went on a run and got some threes to go down and had some momentum, they played such a NBA style of game where there's going to be lulls, but when they are cranking on all cylinders, not only are they knocking down threes, but the big man down low gets putbacks, and he's very very skilled and adept at cutting to the basket when they're faking the threes, taking the bounce pass and sending it home because um, the methodical game that Clemson plays. I didn't think it would hold up. I knew that Alabama would be able to push the pace at some point, and they pushed the pace early in that game, and they weren't making shots, but eventually they were going to fall. And once they fell, it just the game. Once the game got a little helter skelter, it played right into their hands. But again, you mentioned that word transfer portal, and I mean we'll talk about it later with the Wolfpack. And I was listening to a radio show, and they were like, it's just very very unique how these teams are similarly constructed, meaning the number of folks that they pulled out the portal to add to these four teams that made the Final Four. Each of them had about three or four uh, grad transfers. Um, and again, we can get it later. We can get into a later conversation of, how how that move right there. If you add guys like grad transfer guys to a team, say like Kentucky, or a team, say like Duke, who who's got a skilled Filipowski, but it'd been nice to have a couple bigs that were transferred in to surround him with because that's a young player with all the weight on his shoulders. And I see the same thing happening next year when the number one player in the country comes to Duke and he doesn't have senior length around him. And just to caveat that, without not expounding on it too much, I was talking to a colleague of mine today, and we are like, hey, the game has changed. That number one player actually would look better on a team like a Tennessee, who's going to bring in some transfer portal guys, or a team like UConn. UConn even has older guys that they bring in to surround the team, and I think it uplifts the younger guys like freshman five stars. It takes the weight off their shoulders and it allows them to just play basketball without having to carry the whole team like Filipowski had to do in the paint for Duke.
I agree. The UConn Tennessee game. Excuse me, not UConn and Illinois. I thought Illinois was going to make a game out of UConn in the first half. Very great defense. UConn was struggling shooting at three, um, but we figured out that Illinois went 50 minutes real time without scoring. Illinois missed 30 layups after the game. They just missed everything. And I think UConn came out on fire. Dan Hurley said, we have to blow teams out. We cannot play close games because they suck at closing games. So they went ahead and destroyed Illinois by 20 plus points. I'm not very surprised that this happened. I thought Illinois would make it a game, but then they got real jump shot happy and They got beat in transition on defense, so they was getting beat on simple fundamentals. So they lost the game probably with about 15 minutes left in the second half. Just getting beat on simple stuff, just not communicating on defense, mismatches with the big guy. I mean, they found it. UConn found their thing in the second half. I thought Illinois would not pull off an upset. I thought it would be very close, but with 30 minutes layups and you didn't really score maybe until maybe 12 minutes. And in the second half, you went about a good 7 minutes without scoring. You can't do that against UConn. You can't go 7 minutes without scoring and then expect you to win. So they were down very early. Um, Terrence Shannon Jr. was shut down by the UConn defense. He didn't really do much, contribute much. UConn defense had him on lock, but I'm not surprised that UConn makes a second straight Final Four. How did you feel about the Connecticut and Illinois game?
Well, again, I think it was. I think it was very. It reminded me of Corey Brewer, Joakim Noah, Al Hortford, and the crew down with the Gators years back when they went back to back. The key thing about UConn, it's kind of like a three-prong approach. One, it starts with Hurley. Hurley knows how to get his guys ready for first and second half basketball. He brought his team into this tournament with a chip on his shoulder, and he knows how to mentally get in the guys' head to make them play hard right from the jump. They weather all storms because they come out playing hard. Secondly, we talk about styles making fights. Well, there's only one team in the country to me that can play every style of basketball, similar to that Florida team. They'll go. They would run up and down the court with anybody, but they could play half court basketball and run sets too. That's UConn. That is tough to deal with because you can make adjustments, but everything that you counter with, they can play that style of basketball, and that is so important. If there's nothing that I haven't seen from UConn this year is they can play every style of basketball that's in the college game. They can run, they can play half court basketball, and they are tenacious on defense. They have length, they get in the passing lanes, and they can hit threes. If someone beats them, I've got to watch it from wire to wire because I want to see how they pull this off. Because it is a machine, and it's a machine. Like I said, as I said earlier, they added transfers. They've got good young players. They don't have the number one player in the country or anything like that. It's just a solid mix of youth and experience. And that experience, as I was alluding to before, the number one player in the country is coming to Duke. He's going to have to carry the load for Duke. He's going to come in there and have to be a man right away. At UConn, you don't have to do that. You just, if you're a four-star guy and you're a freshman, you've got older guys around you. Hey, just contribute. But, you can also be spectacular in what you do, but you don't have to carry UConn every game. Like you could go for 30 and then, you could just, methodically go for your 11 points and 7 boards and they still blow people out because that's all they need from you. They've got people around you. It is a well put together ball club, and I think I think Danny Hurley has done a lot of research and just watching basketball teams from the past, and because the more things change, the more things stay the same. And just like the NFL, it's a copycat league. You can go back in the annals and look how teams have done it because college basketball is college basketball. And with the transfer portal, it makes it easier to mesh youth with experience. And that's where I believe like Calipari is going to have to make some adjustments because he cannot just do this one and done thing when he's playing against a team that has just as much athletic ability and youth as he does, but they have experience and length like UConn does. So I mean, UConn's a juggernaut. I'm looking forward to Final Four weekend.
My opinion on that is I won't reiterate too long on it, but when you're mentioning the transfers, transfers are very important. DJ Burns, he spent 3 years in Tennessee. I think he went to another school that spent 3 years in Tennessee. Went to Withdrop, I think it was Withdrop, and then went to NC State. Kevin
Winthorpe,
Keats has been
correct.
Withorp, yeah. And Kevin Keats has been, with him for the majority of the time. Obviously, just recruiting him. He was skinny, he got big, and then he kind of lost a lot of weight. So now he's kind of like the center and the vocal point of all this. So they got some very good guys. By the way, Kevin Keats' job was on the line at a certain point during the season. Now, if it wasn't for that miracle shot against UVA in the Final Four, or excuse me, in the ACC tournament, they wouldn't be in the tournament if it weren't for that 3 point tying game. Obviously, when it comes down to that at the end of the day. Now, when you
You're totally correct there, and in getting to a certain point and get to a certain point in the tournament, it escalated to open his contract for future years automatically kicked in. So he's got 2 more guaranteed years on his contract, which allows him one to still be the coach there. Number one, and number two, just to showcase how in front of the world in America how he gets to showcase NC State. So it's going to just make it easier for him to bring in talent, a two prong again, experienced transfer guys, and then you add a couple of high school freshmen that were maybe looking elsewhere, but they just like how the Wolfpack play and how Coach Keats coaches them up. But that is a very valid point.
And then also along the lines with Connecticut, what you're mentioning, Spencer, the point guard Spencer is very good. Um, we didn't know, or most of y'all didn't know, he spent 3 seasons at Loyola, Maryland, and he spent last year at Rutgers, and then transferred to Connecticut. He's number 2 scorer on the team, averages 14 and a half points a game. He shoots 44% from the 3 point range and 92% from the foul line. Obviously, when the game is played on Saturday, they'll celebrate his birthday, obviously, so it's very, very important. That point guard plays Spencer, he can pass the ball. I mean, he's nice. He can definitely pass the ball. He can see the court. Like you said, Connecticut can go fast. He can go slow. They can go fast. They can go mixed tempo. Not only that, but let's give Alabama coach Nate Oates, right? He was a high school coach like 10 years ago. And then now he lost 3 assistant head coaches. He's brought in 4 transfers after losing 4 starters. Brandon Miller was the number 2 overall pick in the draft, and one of those was 6'11" forward Grant Nelson. He got from North Dakota State. They played a huge role. He averaged 24 points and 12 rebounds in that game against North Carolina. And then they got another 6'3" guard in Aaron Estrada and another 6'3" guard who was a 2-time Coastal Athletic Association Player of the Year at Hofstra. So they bringing in all these guys. Plus, he's lost 3 assistants and still made the Final Four. So I'm going to give Nate Oates credit there from Alabama, just pulling off that win against Clemson, playing legit defense, and of course getting those threes. And like you said, DJ Horn, right? The guard in DJ Horn from NC State. He spent 2 years at Illinois State and Arizona State, and then he's the top leading scorer. He averages about 16 points a game after NC State lost last year into Carl Joyner and Trevion Smith, the backcourt. And then the Stanford transfer, Michael O'Connell, the point guard, averages has been the steady playmaker with only 17 turnovers in current 9-game winning streak, which is basically the lowest. And then, of course, DJ Burns. So like you said, transfer portal is very important. It's very great. I am very happy for all the teams that made it to the Final Four. Like I said, Purdue versus NC State, UConn versus Alabama. That's going to be a matchup to have. I think UConn and Alabama will be very, very close. But going into the NBA, we're almost in the NBA playoffs. We are about 14 days away. The Celtics beat the Hornets, right? Are you surprised by the Celtics beating the Hornets? I'm a Boston Celtics fan, but they struggled. They lost to the Hawks twice. One of them was after blowing a 30-point lead. And then they finally, won. I guess is what, one or two straight games, followed by the Boston Celtics. How do you feel about the Celtics and with this team? Should they win the finals with this team? Because they've been close before.
They've
They
been very
last year.
close. And my concern with the Celtics is this: there's something, just doesn't click with me with them. I think they, with the length that they have, I think they fall in love with shooting threes a little bit too much. And when they do that, I think it allows other teams, because I mean, no one shoots threes at a 70% clip. Okay. So those laws in the game where they can't hit, teams are allowed to come back into games, and then those stretches of not hitting threes can get lengthy if the other team is coming down and making buckets. And then you get sped up a little bit more because you're behind, and you're cranking these threes, and things aren't going down, and then you know you find yourself in trouble. And we're talking regular season basketball here. Playoff basketball, you got to run half court offenses in playoff basketball. You see the same team 5 or 7 games in these series, the same team. Everyone knows everyone's plays, and you can't. I just don't think you can, running up and down the court shooting threes is sustainable in the it's just in the Eastern Conference playoffs, because someone is gonna do their homework and design defenses and their offense to shut you down. And we've seen that before too. I mean, these guys, the Boston Celtics are still a young basketball team, with really young players. They've got length. I just don't think they utilize their length enough. I'd like to see Brown and Tatum, you know, take a few more shots inside the 3-point line, meaning a little bit of more post play, a little bit more, jumpers from the elbow. I mean, twos are okay too, but just, hey, we're gonna shoot threes and try to run you out the gym. Is that sustainable? I don't think so.
When it comes to my Celtics, we've been close multiple times. 2022, I feel like we should have beat Golden State. Being up 2-0, just being that young team, Golden State's been there before. I think we'll cruise along to the finals. Now, when I say cruise, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I don't see Philly being a threat to us with Joel Embiid just coming back this week. He's been out for injury for a while, and the 76ers look like they could be in the play-in tournament, or almost out of the playoffs. I think our biggest threat to the Celtics in getting to the finals is the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, Rick Carlisle, the coach, a former long coach for the Dallas Mavericks. I think that's a threat to the Boston Celtics. I don't think the Bucks are, especially with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has been a playoff choker, despite the team that they have. They're not using Damian Lillard enough. The Miami Heat, I could say the Miami Heat because, of the rivals that's happened in the past. But this Miami Heat team is probably the most injured team of all time. Tyler Heroes missed some time. Jimmy Butler's missed some time. Duncan Robinson, Kevin Love, they all missed some time. So that I hope they get healthy within 2 weeks. But when it comes to Jason Tatum, I mean, the winning formula for the Boston Celtics is everybody to score. Yeah, Jason Tatum had 25 and 10. Sam Hauser poured in 25 points on 7 threes. Kristaps Porzingis had 20 points. He wasn't playing, and now he's playing. Derek White had 19 points, 9 rebounds. So kind of just having those guys that can average 20 or more points a game, which obviously tonight against the Hornets, they got four or more of those guys average 20 more points a game. That's the winning formula. Like I said, the Celtics with the trade with Marcus Smart in the summertime, I thought it was a dumb trade. but it's actually the best trade, especially with the addition of Drew Holiday. This team is a very complete team talent wise. They got a lot of talent, but like you said, we do tend to fold in certain situations where we cannot get the job done, and I just hope that it does not happen again uh, for the young coach and Joe Mazzulla. So I agree with everything you're saying. If they can't hit threes, they'll blow leads, and hopefully, I've seen enough 30-point leads that they blew. I think they blew 3 of them last year. So hopefully they don't blow 3 of them, or hopefully they don't blow a 30-point lead again when it comes to the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to switch a little bit to some MLB, right? Houston's Blanco throws a first no-hitter in the majors this season, a 10-0 win over Toronto Blue Jays, right? 10-0. How do you feel about Ronel Blanco and the Houston Astros? How do you feel about this baseball season so far?
Well, I mean, it didn't get off to a good start for the Astros. I mean, they got swept by the Yankees, and I didn't. The Yankees, I think, if you gave them truth serum, uh, they would be lying if they said they thought they would start the season 4-0. They probably went in there hoping they'd get 2 games at best, but they had a good series down there in Houston to open the season. Um, but Houston is Houston. Houston's going to be there. Just slow start to the season. They've got personnel. They've got pitching. They still got uh, the position players to put runs up on the board. Slow start, but this is a good recovery from the weekend with the Yankees. So hopefully they could ride this wave of momentum after the no hitter and get themselves back to playing Houston Astro baseball, meaning being the top team in their division.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a long baseball season. It's 162 games. I'm not going to have my opinion on it probably until, because these teams ain't going to. You can't, like you said, you can't tell what team's going to be good until like the summertime, until like June and July.
Correct.
Then you'll find out, what team is going to be good. Um, NFL wise, um, we got the draft. We got the draft coming up pretty soon. Raheem Moister and the Dolphins agreed to a new contract that keeps him through 2025. Now, last year, Raheem Moister was the leading in rushing touchdowns. I think he had 18 rushing touchdowns. So Miami Dolphins, they were on Hard Knocks last year, HBO's Hard Knocks. They were pretty good, but they couldn't beat any winning teams. Is this the right move for the Miami Dolphins? You said the Jets are going to win the AFC East. I don't agree with you. I'm a
Book it.
Patriots fan. I don't agree with you. The Miami Dolphins are a better team than the New York Jets. So with this addition of keeping Raheem Moister, they already have another running back. You still have Tua. You still got Jalen Waddle. You still got the best wide receiver in the NFL in Tyreek Hill. You got Mike McDaniel, who's a great offensive mind, coming from the Kyle Shanahan tree, being the offensive coordinator for the 49ers. How do you feel about this signing? And you're still confident in that
Well,
$100?
running back. It's a good contract for Mostert. But at the end of the day, I will say this about the Dolphins and the Jets. If we come down to Week 17, or if there's a playoff game between the Dolphins and the Jets at full strength, a healthy Aaron Rodgers, and you're in Tua, who you got if your car is on the line?
The Miami Dolphins, because the Jets have not been to the playoffs in 13 seasons. It's been 13
So
years since they made the
that's
playoffs.
throwing a lot of shade at Aaron Rodgers.
No,
So
no.
Aaron Rodgers is not Tua. Is that what you're telling me? Because this league is about
No, no.
follow the quarterback too.
I understand. I'm not throwing to answer your question. I'm not throwing shade on Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking about playoff experience as a whole. The Miami Dolphins have been to the playoffs more than the New York Jets. The Jets have not
And
been
what
to
have
the
they done in
playoffs
the
since Rex
playoffs?
Ryan.
What has Tua done in the playoffs?
Tua made it to the play. He's made it. I know he hasn't done it in the playoffs, but he's made the playoffs. He's made
And he
it.
missed it one year when the Buffalo Bills played their backups, and all they had to do was go up to Buffalo and get a win, and none of the starters played, and Tua lost the game. So,
Different coach.
until he beats Rodgers, Rodgers was not on the field last year. That is a top 5 defense in New York.
I
They've
agree,
added
but the
pieces
defense
on
can't carry.
offense. They've added 2 offensive tackles. They get to add people in the draft, and they have Aaron Rodgers.
I understand. I understand who he is, but
I
they
will
have.
tell you this: Aaron Rodgers will be in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
Have you lost your mind? Have you
No, I
lost your
haven't.
mind?
I have
You
not.
wait, whoa. So you're telling me, wait a minute. You're telling me the New York Jets are going to beat the Baltimore Ravens? That's what you're
Yes,
telling me.
yes.
Oh, oh, somebody, hey, somebody, please clip this man. This is blasphemy coming out of this man's mouth. He's telling me the Jets are going to go past the Baltimore Ravens. What about the Houston Texans? They made some noise in play. The Houston Texans, the
They're
Cleveland
not the
Browns,
Jets. Not the
the Cleveland
Jets.
Browns, the Cleveland
They're
Browns.
not the Jets with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my God, the Cleveland
If
Browns.
Aaron Rodgers plays every game, they don't have to worry about Baltimore. They don't have to worry about Houston.
Well, see, here's the point. Here's my point, though. The Cleveland Browns made the playoffs with 5 quarterbacks and won
They
a
don't have to worry
playoff
about
game.
them either.
Oh my
They have a
God.
top 5 defense and Aaron Rodgers.
The Cleveland Browns defense is better than the Jets defense. Myles Garrett. Oh my God. Oh Lord. Yeah. We will get to that. I can't wait till football season because that blasphemy coming out your mouth thinking that Jets gonna make the AFC Champions again. That's okay. That $100 is on the line. When y'all don't make the playoffs, I need my $100. It's okay. It's okay. Talk all you want about that. I promise you. I promise you. Just like I'm right about the Dallas Cowboys, I'm always right about the New York Jets. And I don't respect the Jets until they do something. Uh Sad news, former Dolphins and Colts player Vontae Davis was found dead in his home in South Florida at the age of 35. Uh, I watched Vontae Davis play. He got cut or asked for a trade in the 2012 Hard Knocks of the Miami Dolphins. As I watched that, he wanted to get traded. He went to the Colts. How do you feel about this, Paul?
It's very sobering news. I feel for heart goes out to him and his family. I know, and his brother who played over there at San Fran, the tight end. Um, again, the, the league needs to continue to put an emphasis on safety, concussion protocol, and CTE injuries, because uh, it, you know the NFL is not for long. I mean, you come into the game as a young man, you leave the game as a young man because you're still a young man in your 30s, and a lot of people still need help. A lot of people are injured and broken when they leave the league and they go out into society as young people. I just hope and pray the NFL continues to have the same emphasis on player safety and also taking care of players once they leave the game. Um, and and putting some emphasis on post career, uh, post NFL career, um, again, assistance, whether it's medical, mental, um, what have you. They just need to really take care of the players while they're playing and after they're finished playing, because these guys give so much to the game, um, so much their time, energy, their bodies, and the NFL needs to care about them just as much as for them as when they were playing.
Mm. All right, South Carolina, leading scorer, rebounder Camila Cardosa is to enter the WNBA draft. South Carolina again has a chance to win the national title. They'll be playing a tough team, obviously, this Friday. Uh, how do you feel about this player? I think she's very excellent. And what's next for South Carolina? Do you think South Carolina can win it all?
Uh, I will say this. I think they can. I just don't think the separation between them and the field is the same as the Yukon men and the field. Um, and I'm judging by that last game, and how close it was with, I believe it was Oregon State. Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of parity in women's basketball. There clearly are the team to beat. I mean, they ran through the regular season undefeated, and they are at the top of the food chain in the in women's college basketball. However, um, when you see their scores and you see who they competed against, um, there's a chance for the field, someone in the field, to make a run at them, but it's going to be tough. It's not. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to get beat. I just think that, again, the gap between them in the field and UConn men in the field is slightly less.
Well, she did announce that she's going to turn pro once the season ends. But she is expected to be a top five selection in the WNBA draft. Her Angel Reese will probably be in the maybe top three, top five, top seven. Uh, she is the leading leader with 14 points a game, averages about 9.4 rebounds a game. She did begin her career in Syracuse before she transferred to South Carolina. Uh, and the Gamecocks are 36-0. Now, they should have lost that championship game against Tennessee, but that shot, that bank shot, is what saved them to have the undefeated season. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But South Carolina's going to play NC State. Who do you have between South Carolina and NC State? Because NC
No, I
State,
got to roll. I got to roll with South Carolina in that one. I think the winner of the Iowa, and it looks like right now
the winner of
UConn's up by 10.
yeah,
So the
UConn.
Iowa UConn game, those two teams have a shot. I think they have a better shot than NC State at this point.
Mm. And who do you got between? So Iowa already won. So who do you got between UConn and Iowa? I'm gonna pick UConn. UConn
I'll
up
take
by 10.
Iowa.
Iowa over UConn?
Yes.
Oh my God! Why?
If Iowa
Please
plays
tell
like
me.
they played tonight, they'll win. Going away.
That's just how you feel. That's how you feel. So you want
I,
Caitlin Clark to get to the Final Four championship again?
I believe she will. I mean, I just think. I mean, uh, uh, on paper, they're just it's a better roster than UConn.
Oh, okay. A better roster than UConn. All right, all right. And the men's final topic of the night. The men's, right? Purdue, NC State, UConn, Alabama. Who's gonna play the championship game on Monday, and who's gonna win it?
Championship game will be UConn and Purdue. Um, I see. I see UConn going back to back. and only because UConn is on a mission for a team that's won the championship last year, and then it's just the bigs. The bigs, they have the bigs to slow down Edie. However, I will say this about the NC State Purdue game: Burns pulling Edie away from the basket with those elbow jumpers can cause some issues because he's not a guy that goes to the basket. He's got that soft little left-handed mid-range jumper. Um, to the likes that I don't think Edie has had to deal with. He's just been a rim protector, and he usually plays against a guy with his back to a basket, but I don't think he's played against a big man like Burns who can step away from the basket and knock down shots. That is going to be a uh, interesting little game within the game when those two meet. And again, it comes. I mean, guard play on both sides is exceptional. I mean, NC State is hot. Their guards can knock down shots just like Purdue, but how they formulate a plan to get Burns to get Edie out of the paint on defense and to pull him away from the basket. They have a chance there. They're a live threat in that game.
My pick would be UConn and NC State, right? NC State, DJ Burns, with the transfer players I mentioned earlier, O'Connell, their point guard, DJ Burns, Mohamed Diarra, the guy that gets rebounds, the guy that scrapes on the floor, that gets you what you need to get. NC State, the way they created problems for Duke in the second half, the same strategy, like I said weeks ago in the ACC tournament. Foul out Filikowski, the same strategy is going to be foul out Zach Edey. That's going to be the same strategy. Take the big boy out of the game. UConn, Alabama's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be a 20-point blowout. Alabama has shooters. But UConn, here's the concern I have for UConn. UConn has been struggling shooting that three-pointer. They've struggled pretty bad shooting the three. Now, it doesn't look like they're struggling because they can beat you on the inside, it can beat you on defense, but UConn really wants to shoot that three. And if them threes don't hit, Alabama might give them a run for their money. Might. I thought Illinois would give them a run for their money. Alabama might give them a run for their money, despite the four transfers that they got. But UConn, NC State going to be playing the Final Four on Monday. And, of course, UConn will win back-to-back championships, right, for the first time in a very long time. So that is going to be my Final Four pick. Your Final Four pick is UConn and Purdue. I don't like Purdue. Zach Edey's going to get exposed on Saturday, but we'll see how that goes. But this is it for the Monday show of Totem Pole Sports. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Coach Taylor should be back tomorrow if he's not old and dead. But thank me and thank the man right here, the man from Seoul. He should be on the Life Lessons podcast tomorrow. Check it out at 7:30. But this is it for tonight's show. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Y'all have a great night. Please take care.